Tell the chapter 6 problems apart and how to get ready for the exam on this material. Because again, the two hard things about this chapter are figuring out which formula to use and then getting it into the calculator right. In terms of grading, the calculator error is pretty cheap. If you have the problem set up right, you're going to get most of the credit. So that's really to put your focus and then hopefully you get the calculator right. So my first bit of advice is go over these chapter 6 notes. You should absolutely know what's on here before the exam. So when you're sitting down to the exam, that should not be the first time that you're looking over the sheet. You should be super familiar with what's on here and know how to use it. And so here's how I will suggest that you do that. First off, all the definitions are up here in case, there's a lot of letters going on. So you can look up, when you're looking on the exam, you're trying to figure out what something is, you have all the definitions there at the top of the sheet. So then the next thing is, you have this exam and there'll be, there's 2 chapters on this. So there's probably, 7, 8 questions on the test of this nature, and you're going to have to try to determine which of these formulas goes with which question. So at the beginning of the 6-4 video, I go through a little 1-minute how to tell these apart, and that's where these notes are coming from, I think. So 6.1 is one deposit. That is the key. If there's just one deposit and you're going to put that money away and let it sit there and earn interest, that means you're in 6.1. 6.2 assumes that you put money into an account on a regular schedule every month, year, quarter, etc., and then let it sit there and earn interest. So if you're saving up for your kid's college, or you're going to save up for a car, or you're saving up for a down payment on a house, whatever it is, you're saving some amount of money at intervals. You're making many deposits, saving up for retirement. That means you're in 6.2. 6.3 assumes that you take money out of an account on a regular schedule every month, year, quarter, etc., and the rest just sits in there earning interest. So if you are getting the money rather than you are putting the money in, you are getting payments, you're making withdrawals. That is a 6.3 problem. So an example of that would be like you've retired and you got your 401k, and now you're going to start taking payments out of that 401k every month. That's a payout annuity, and that's a 6.3 problem. If you borrowed money and you're paying it back, so just a straight up loan, it would be a house, car, whatever, that's a 6.4 problem. So once you have that idea down, one deposit, many deposits, those are the two that those get mixed up, and then many deposits and many withdrawals also get mixed up. But you can tell these all apart by going with these definitions. So be familiar with what's on the sheet. 6.1 is probably the worst of it because there's a few different things in 6.1. A couple of key things. If you see the words simple interest in the problem, you're in 6.1. If there is a lump sum being deposited, that's some version of one of these future values here. If it's being compounded monthly, quarterly, whatever, that's this one. If it's continuous compounding, that's this one. I skipped over these. These are those 2 definitions for N and I that hopefully you're really bored with by now. And then the other thing in 6.1 is annual percentage yield. So simple interest or APY, if you see those words in the problem, you'd know it's a 6.1 problem. So those 2 are fairly easy to spot. And then, like I said, these 2 are going to be where you're putting in a lump sum and having it sit. 6.2, that's where you're making payments and letting it sit. 6.3, you're receiving payments, and then there's 2 choices here: ordinary annuity, so that's just the regular one, versus a deferred annuity, which means you're going to wait 7 years to start taking money out or something like that, where you're deferring the payments. And then loans, loan formula, the basic one, and then to figure out the unpaid balance. So say you've been paying on it for 17 payments on your car and you want to figure out how much you still owe, that's this one. And with that, you'll see payoff or unpaid balance somewhere in the description. So let's take a quick look at this. Is the chapter 6 review that I'm looking at. So what I would suggest you do to get ready for the exam is obviously do the review, because this is where I take all the questions from. And then if we look at these, how much should I invest now? Simple interest. So as soon as I see simple interest, we're in 6.1. And these are going to be in order, so it's not quite as sporting. Make sure that you can tell them when they're not in order. So blah, blah, blah. What simple interest? Again, 6.1. You borrow $5,000 for 5 months at 4% simple interest, 5.1. This one's a little tricky. Find the future value if 11,000 is invested for 6 years at 7% compounded monthly. You might see those words future value and then jump to 6.2, but notice there is only one deposit. You're depositing $11,000. That means you're in 6.1. What lump sum should be deposited? That's 6.1, right? Because it's one deposit. Michelle invests savings account that pays that much compounded monthly. What is APY? So as soon as you see APY, you're in 6.1. Compounded annually. Sorry, you deposit $2,000 each year, okay, into an account earning 3% interest compounded annually, and then read slowly enough to pick up all the words would be another good bit of advice. So since we're depositing $2,000 each year into an account, we're making many deposits. That means we've now switched to a 6.2 problem. Suppose I want to have $800,000 in so many years at this rate. How much would I need to deposit each month? I'm making many deposits. That's a 6.2. Saving for college, that's going to be a 6.2, right? Because if you read through that, it's going to be many deposits. They want to save $81,000 in 2 years. If they make monthly deposits, many deposits, still 6.2. You've saved $300,000 for retirement. How much will I be able to pull out each month? Many withdrawals. That means we just switch the 6.3, and you'll find that keeps going here. After an on-the-job accident, client was awarded a bunch of money. Compound money, makes payments forward. What will the monthly payment for this worker be after the exact accident? So again, the payments are going to the person, so that's a payout. So still 6.3. Again, a whole bunch of 6.3 problems. Let me find a loan down here. Dana wants to buy a car. She's planning on making monthly payments of that much, interest rate that much. How much will her down payment need to be to make this happen? So with this, you can figure out if she's going to make this kind of payments for that many years at that percent, you can figure out how much the loan is for, and then $31,000 minus that is what her down payment's going to be. But again, she is taking out money to buy that car. You're considering taking out a loan again. That's got to be 6.4. Business loans. So again, as soon as you see the word loan, you're in 6.4. So that's kind of the basic of how to do that. Again, these are in order, so be careful, and the test might actually be in order because I'm not very creative about writing them. But be careful to be able to tell them apart when they're not all, when you know kind of what section you're in. So that would be my advice on how to get past 6.4. It really isn't a very hard section in terms of the math. It's really, again, the two hard things are figuring out what kind of problem you're faced with, and it comes down to one of those four cases. And then not mashing the calculator, being able to get the answer into the calculator. So that would be my advice on how to get ready for the Chapter 6 part of this exam.